Hello, everyone. It's Royce here, and I want to welcome you all to the Royce in the House YouTube channel. Appreciate everybody being here. I see we've got Eric Schultz, Joseph Blue, Christopher Pitcher just joined us. Thanks a lot, brother. And so we're looking forward to tonight. I mean, Presence is the album we're going to be talking about, Led Zeppelin's
Yeah.
Presence. And I tell you what, I listened to it, I think, twice today and yesterday as well. And I've got to be honest, every time I listen to it, I like it a little bit more. So let's go ahead. We're going to get right into this, and when we finish the general discussion, on how the thing was all put together, then we're going to do a track by track review of the seven songs on the album Presence. Okay, so here we go, folks. Presence is Led Zeppelin, of course, seventh. Oh, let's get Novice Nick up here. Sorry, folks. Hey, Nick, how we doing?
Hey, Nick.
Hey, it's good to see you. Hey, say something. I didn't hear you yet.
You're muted, Nick.
Yeah, you're muted.
Test.
Yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha now. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna get right into it. Dr. Rick is here. Good to see you, Dr. Rick.
Hey.
Okay, so Presence, Led Zeppelin's seventh studio album, was released on the band's own label, Swan Song Records, that beautiful label we all love, on March 31st, 1978 in the U.S. and 2 days later in the United Kingdom. Although commercially successful, topping both the British and American album charts and achieving a triple platinum certification in the United States, it is still the lowest selling album by the band, and there's some reasons for that, and we're gonna kind of get into that a little bit. Okay.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
There's not a damn good reason why that album is the lowest selling Led Zeppelin album.
No, that's no. And you heard me wrong. We're going to get into. Well, there are some reasons, though. Yeah. But anyway, I hear what you're saying. We're not really disagreeing, okay?
No, we're not. I'm just it's my way of saying, listen, man, this is an album that's very underrated. Before we get started tonight, not only very I'd say extremely underrated.
Right.
It's Led Zeppelin later in their career returning to a barbed wire.
Yes. No, that's right.
Led Zeppelin
1,
since 1 and 2.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And,
we haven't heard that.
For some strange reason, even the Zeppelin fans who prefer 1 and 2, and there is a group that just like those two, don't like this album either. And there's no freaking reason on the planet, and we'll be discussing why tonight. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
I was just saying it's unique in Zeppelin's catalog because there's no keyboards, there's nothing. It's just bass, drums, and guitar. And that's
every song written by Robert Plant and Jimmy Page except for one.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the most Page Plant centric album that Led Zeppelin ever put out.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. And that's all. Well, we're talking about all that. Okay. So anyway, it entered number 2 and peaked the following week at number 1 on the Billboard album chart. However, the album was, and this is one of the things I was going to say, Michael, in response to what you said. Right. The album was overshadowed by the band's movie and soundtrack. The song remains the same. Okay.
Right.
The song Candy Store Rock was actually released as a single, but it failed to chart. So anyway, I think the song remained the same. Did actually hurt it,
Yeah, I think it did too. But also, Candy Store Rock would be my pick for the weakest track.
I know why that was the single. I have no idea.
Not because it's a bad track, but I'd like to trade Candy Store Rock for one of the heavier tracks from Through the Outdoor, because to my ears, Candy Store Rock kind of belongs on In Through the Outdoor. It would sit better in that album. Here it sits ajar, and then it gets right back to Zeppelin after that. But it's like that's my one faux pas with the album is Candy Store Rock, and yet it's a good track, and we'll discuss that as we go.
Yeah, for sure. Just want to say hi to a couple of new people that have joined us. Jerry has joined us, and Dwayne has joined us. Thanks, guys. Okay, so the album was written and recorded.
Adam?
Adam. Yeah, Adam's
Joseph
in the chat.
Blue?
Joseph Blue. I've said hi to those guys.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I'm just saying hi myself. Hi, Dwayne.
No, right on. Okay, so the album was written and recorded in the last months of 1975. Okay, during a difficult time in the band's history. Singer Robert Plant sustained serious injuries from a car accident on the Greek island of Rhodes on 4th of August, which forced the band to cancel the tour and reschedule all of their activities. Okay, after previously touring to support Physical Graffiti, their last album, Led Zeppelin took a brief break from touring that summer, intending to start a major U.S. tour in August. Okay, but they were at the height of their popularity at the time as well. Everybody wanted.
Oh God, yeah.
Can you imagine?
They can do no wrong as far as the public was concerned.
Right. And but because of their status as tax exiles, they were forced to recuperate abroad. Plant was forced to recuperate abroad. They all owed taxes, so they couldn't go home. Okay, initially in Jersey and then in Malibu, California, and wrote several sets of lyrics while he was recuperating. Okay.
Yep.
And his personal situation, set of lyrics
about
reflected his personal situation. Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, finally, Jimmy Page went to join him in Malibu. The two prepared enough material to be able to present it to the rest of the band. The other two members, of course, John Bonham and bassist John Paul, bassist keyboardist, multi-instrumentalist John Paul Jones, joined them at the Hollywood Sur studio, where they rehearsed the material through October of 1975.
Hey, Royce.
Yes, sir.
It should be also noted that those writing sessions were heavily put together by Jimmy Page with a very reluctant Robert Plant, who was not feeling really good about the band, his situation.
No, not at all. He was real unhappy that that Jimmy Page and Peter Grant were pushing that album. When they were.
And that will fit into our discussion tonight, people, because a lot of why this album is not so popular has to do with Robert Plant. And we'll discuss that as we go along. Yep.
In pain and unhappy during the whole thing. Okay.
Very much so, Royce.
Very much so, Michael. Okay, so the album completed in a few weeks with guitarist Jimmy Page putting in several long shifts to complete recording and mixing. Okay, the title came from the strong presence the group felt when they were all together. Okay, the album artwork, once again from, thank you, Chris, Hypnosis, features several photographs focused on the mysterious object called the object of all things. Here it is.
Right.
It's inside the gatefold where you see all these pictures, and every one of them is focused on the object. Okay.
Hey,
so,
Royce,
yes,
concerning that album cover.
Yeah.
Again, we're going to be talking about, how great the album is and why in some people's eyes it wasn't so great.
Right.
This was 75, wasn't it, when this album came out? Yeah. You have to understand, America anyway, I can't speak for British audiences, but America had been choked to death by Fonzie and Happy Days until they were bored. Laverne and Shirley was boring. Mork and Mindy was boring, boring. And here comes this album cover that's kind of reminiscent of the 50s. We had been reminisced to death at that point. I remember looking at the album cover and going, okay, well, it's Zeppelin. It's not one of my favorite Led Zeppelin album covers. It's fine.
No, not at all.
I've learned to appreciate it, but I was complete. You walked into a drugstore and they had Fonzie action dolls, and it was just the beginning where there was a fatigue for period piece comedies and period pieces, anything.
Yeah. There was definitely a fatigue.
We had gotten Lucas's movie that was shot here in Petaluma and parts of Santa Rosa, American Graffiti. Okay, and that was the hottest thing going. I think Led Zeppelin came out of that just on the tail end of it, and I think the cover may have hurt sales to the general public. What do you guys think?
Capitalist America, as far as marketing, everything was marketed to get every last dime they could from everywhere they could. So when you say the marketing, that's what it was about, capitalism. Let's get it now. Get it while we can. Before it's escaping quickly. Look at this music. It's fleeting. Let's grab it.
But Nick, do you think do you feel that because of what you just said, there becomes this market saturation level that you can't give away He-Man action figures anymore? Do you agree that maybe the cover came in at that market saturation point where people just weren't having the 50s anymore?
I think they were. I see it as the opposite, where they're making fun of everybody with that cover. They are laughing.
Right. I get that. I do get that. But I'm wondering if the average record buyer who wasn't because Zeppelin had turned the average record buyer into Zeppelin fans. And this was the first album that the average record buyer didn't buy from Led Zeppelin in great quantities, and yet when I hear this out, I fell in love with it the day I brought it home. I can remember the day. It's one of those albums where you buy, you take home, you remember. It was probably about 78 degrees, Santa Rosa, California. I was living just on the west side of Cottingtown there. Brought it to my Sin City apartment. Played it on my phonograph and just fell in love with this album, but nobody else did. All my friends.
Well, that's how all my friends reacted to Led Zeppelin 3. But anyway, a couple of things, Michael, I want to say is we just got paid a big compliment. What a handsome panel, Loki Tio, brother. It's good to see you here, man. You haven't been here in a long time.
My timer just
thanks for showing up, Loki. You're appreciated. Go ahead, Chris.
In response to the handsome panel, I want it understood that every single one of us back in our day were quite the, hunky-dories.
Hey, what do you mean the back in your day? Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
I knew that as I was coming up with that in my head, Chris, Chris doesn't fit in this.
Well, anyhow, I want to touch back on what you were saying about the album and the sales of the album. I mean, they weren't that bad. They were still good enough for the next album. Peter Grant made the boasting comment, he could put out an album in a brown paper bag and people would still buy it.
Right.
So it was still good enough that he thought they'd be able to do that. I mean,
and they did on more than one album.
Yeah. Well,
and one thing
actually did put out an album in a brown paper bag.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they did.
One more thing to touch on what you were saying, Royce, about the accident that Robert Plant had.
Yes.
It was his wife. She was severely injured.
Yeah, that's right.
His kids were injured, but not too bad. Another person that people don't talk about that I read a couple different places is that Jimmy Page's daughter was with them, and she ended up not being injured.
Right.
And Plant broke his leg in two different, I think it was one or two different spots.
Oh, he recorded a lot, if not all, his vocals on this album in a wheelchair.
In a wheelchair, yeah.
And
that's right. In a wheelchair.
The most painful recording experience of his life to this very day, you know. And he's not fond of the album. He, as a matter of fact, he says the album has two saving graces. One, I agree with him, which, of course, is Achilles' Last Stand. And he then said, Candy Store Rock. So, in my opinion, Robert Plant is a genius, but he's wrong on that one.
Yeah,
or
but
at least if that had been placed over to In Through the Outdoor, maybe I might agree with him. But he likes the track, you know, out of all of them. And I'm going, really? You'd pick that one over any other track, you know?
I can kind of see his point, though, because every other track is all dealing with the heavy emotional stuff. Candy Store Rock, it's the first, okay, let's have some fun track.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, maybe that's what he was grasping at.
Remember my palate cleanser?
Yes, like you just said, Nick, the palate cleanser.
You got to cleanse the palate.
Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just going to be too much of one thing. You have to cleanse it a little bit.
But when I cleanse my palate, and that's good because we talked about that last week, and anybody who's tuning in and wasn't here last week, we talked about the importance of tracks that are different from everything else you've heard so far on an album. But
totally.
It almost cleanses your palate, like I think Nick said, a sorbet. So that, and then you carry on with the album.
Or ginger if you're eating sushi.
In that case, I thoroughly agree with Nick. But in this case, Nick, a sorbet, cleansing of the palate, this is jarring. And so it doesn't serve that purpose to my ears, but maybe it does to everybody else. I don't know.
Like I said,
it's a fine track. I just think it's on the wrong album. You know?
Right. Well, hey, Nick, when you came on, you were struggling with your voice working, and I never even got to ask you, how are you, brother? Good to see you.
It's been a long
day. I agree
with
you, Dwayne. I agree with you about Robert Plant. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been dealing with electronics and Wi-Fi, and I just got it finished when it was time to come up. So I've been eating all day. So when I cut out my picture, I'm still here. I'm listening.
Okay, good.
I still got to eat. I always hold on until after the stream.
Right. Well, so Presence.
It's 9 o'clock here.
Oh, is it? Okay. So Presence is dominated by compositions by Page and Plant, with only one track, created by the entire group. Okay. Mm-hmm. Unlike other Led Zeppelin albums, it features no keyboards, very little acoustic, because Plant was still ill, the band could not tour to promote its release. So there was two things that I thought maybe hurt it a little bit. The song remains the same, overshadowing it, and not being able. They always toured to promote their albums. They couldn't do that because of Plant's condition. Okay.
Yeah. The song remains the same. Served as not only a live album but as a greatest hits. And any band that puts out anything that can be considered a greatest hits album runs the risk of their next release not doing well.
That's a good point. And I want everybody to know that although the song remains the same, is not a studio album. It's the next album to have been released, in line. So I'm covering that next week, and then we'll go Into the Outdoor, then Coda.
You know what, Eric? That's exactly how I discovered some of my favorite albums. Is I heard it at a friend's, a particular track especially, and then I'd buy it because I had to have it.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I am a major Jeff Beck fan. I've already gotten a couple of his albums on auctions, but the reason I'm a Jeff Beck fan is the guy who taught me my first 6 chords on guitar, his name was Co Burnett. He was 1 year older than me, just like Royce is. So I didn't have any older brothers. He's the closest thing to an older brother I ever had. And so he started turning me on, and he showed me Going Down. Now, to this day, as a lead guitarist, he's one of those guys that he could have been one of those next Jimmy Pages. This guy I personally knew. I grew up with him. He's that good of a lead guitarist. And he said that Going Down is the best solo he ever heard. And that is my favorite guitar solo of all time. Jeff Beck, Going Down, man. That is so blazingly speedful. And you go, well, we're talking about Led Zeppelin. Well, Jeff Beck, while all of this was going on, you have to understand, he was the Twilight Zone Led Zeppelin. all on his own, and if you don't know that about him, start revisiting his stuff and comparing his albums while Zeppelin came out and all of that. There's the Zeppelin sound to me. You got to kind of include Jeff Beck.
I'll tell you something, Michael. It was very exciting for me. I got to see Jeff Beck twice in concert.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
At both times, it was the tribute to Jimi Hendrix. And it was absolutely amazing. Dwayne made a great comment.
Jeff Beck is my third favorite guitarist of all time.
Right.
Beating out Hendrix, beating out Carlos Santana, all right, beating out Richie Blackmore. Okay, now you if you've been to this panel for any amount of time for the last 2+ years that I've been showing up here, everybody knows those guitarists I just mentioned. We've done entire shows of me singing their praises. Anybody that winds up in my top 10, there's another 10 that are just as good as them. I just didn't have room in my top 10 for them. And Jeff Beck is my third favorite guitarist of all time. Number 1, Jimmy freaking Page, and deservedly so. The most daring guitarist on the planet, with the exception of Jimi Hendrix, who was just as daring. I love gunslingers. All right.
Hendrix was
when they're hot, the other guy goes down in the dust, and when they're not, they go foot,
Michael, same here. I've read stories, people that were at parties with Jimi Hendrix, and they were even at parties at his own pad, with him. And the entire time they were there, Hendrix would walk around with his electric guitar strapped on, of course, not plugged in, and just walk around playing it unplugged the entire. I mean, that's all he did. He was playing and recording music nonstop. That's why they have so much to release, Electric Lady.
Hey, Piccolina.
Hey, Piccolina.
Hey, Piccolina. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've run into Piccolina just all over the place.
Hey, Dane, good to see you. Stephen Stills. Yeah, I just bought a Stephen Stills album, Manassas, and I was a fan of his, like in the mid '60s. Yeah,
he's my favorite acoustic guitarist. All right, yeah. He's number 1. And he'd be in the top 30 as far as electric lead guitarist. So that's high praises. And he's even a better songwriter and just as terrific a singer. He's my favorite out of CSNY as a group. But as a solo artist, I have to give Neil Young the nod.
Neil Young is amazing.
Not that table about Stephen Still. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Nose.
I had a table of about 8. I guess it was Friday, and we were discussing the 27 group.
27 Club. Yeah.
Yeah, the 27 Club, and it was. Boy, that was a good discussion. Good, bad, but it's
right.
And for anybody that doesn't know this out there, the 27 Club, just in case there's somebody out there watching, is famous rockers who died at the tender age of 27. Far too many to be a coincidence.
Far too many. I mean,
some say anyway.
I did a show on the 27 Club.
Yeah.
Okay, so recording wise, once they had worked out the arrangements, the group was eager to record. Okay, Page favored going to Musicland Studios in Munich because he thought they, had the state-of-the-art equipment there. Plant was still recovering from the accident during the recording and sang his vocals from his wheelchair.
Yeah.
How miserable are you going to be doing that? Which led to Page assuming most of the responsibilities, for the session. The album was recorded and mixed with longtime group associate engineer Keith Harwood and completed in 18 days, with the final mixes finished on the 27th of November. That was the fastest recording time turnaround achieved by the band since their debut album.
Right. Right. That's, again, another reason why I consider it Led Zeppelin back to the basics. But to me, it's almost, instead of calling it Presence, we could call it Led Zeppelin 3 and then call Led Zeppelin 3 Presence.
You know what? That's I feel the same way. And they definitely say that was their intention, to go back to the raw material.
And I love it.
I know, I do too. That's why 1 and 2 were so damn good, you know. Yeah, just amazing.
And to dare just, the thing is the most powerful song on the album, just like on Physical Graffiti, the most powerful song most fans would agree with, and my polls agree with this, is Kashmir. Well, on Presence, it's Achilles' Last Stand, and to start the album with that, and to actually have an album that sustains itself after that magnificent piece of music, and they do it, in my opinion, very successfully.
Yeah, Jersey Devil, I agree 100%. It started with Robert Johnson. Great comment, and it's really good to see you here, brother. Thank you for showing up.
Yes, it did. I agree with that too. The father of rock and roll and the blues, in a way.
Oh yeah, Manassas is great, Dr. Rick. I just listened to that about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I picked up a little new vinyl here and there lately. I don't know whether I'll show it tonight or what, but probably not. I will show this real quick because I've been looking for it, and Novice Nick has helped try to find it, and did find it, but I couldn't help myself. I came across How the West Was Won.
Nice.
And it was $9.99 for the 3 CDs, you know, and I couldn't be happier because I still want to get the vinyl, because that's what I do, collect vinyl. But, at least I could take these in my car and listen to them, And anyway, I was real excited. I was at Boo Boo Records. I bought a bunch of great stuff there. And I decided to go look at the CDs, which I hardly ever do when I'm in there. And I found there's actually 2 of those there at $9.99.
Royce, that's actually the perfect album to have on CD and in your car, because that's the most listenable live album while driving my truck by Led Zeppelin that I always pick that album. I think Chris said he does too, right?
Yeah. Well, I haven't done it yet. I just got it, I think, 2 days ago, but I will be doing it probably tomorrow.
I don't collect CDs yet, but if I came across that album and CD, because I've been trying to hunt it down on vinyl for a price that's manageable, but I would actually love to have that on CD as well, just because I think I'm turning into a Led Zeppelin completionist.
Yeah,
I know. Me too.
Royce, man. I'm still waiting on news about that I wrote you about.
Okay.
So we don't know if it ever comes.
That particular company that I've already prepaid for a different album. That's Celebration Day. I paid them for it, and they don't have any idea when they're going to see it. Okay, so the Rush.
Royce.
Yes.
I just wanted to be clear that I have no personal vested interest in this episode tonight. All right.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I remember. I think you unboxed that live, didn't you? Or
yes, I did, and
that's what I thought.
It's when the channel first turned into rock and roll.
Yeah.
So that was about 2.5 years ago, that video, and it was a short before YouTube was really doing shorts. It must have been about 1.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And got a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people said they were gonna, you can pick one of these up for about $20 on the internet.
Yeah.
And
I've got my cardboard cutout back here.
Video. Yeah, it's part of my backdrop. But
I see it. Yeah.
You had to have this. I mean, this is so iconic. I'd love to get a metal full-size one, because I think their actual size was about.
Oh, okay. So that's not full size, huh?
No, I don't think so, because when you
now that you mention it, just looking at my album cover, it doesn't look like it's.
It's much bigger to them than this is to me.
Right.
So I think it's missing about 3.5, 3 inches maybe and then I've seen them with in metal. People do it in black metal. I want to get one of those, but they're pretty expensive the last time I checked.
10, 11 inches.
But $20, and it's plastic, it's molded plastic, but you don't see that even this close unless you touch it. And of course, on the base it says Led Zeppelin, and on the other side Presence. And if you're a fan of the band, I see Beatle fans getting sillier stuff than this.
That's absolutely. One of those things that
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
it's one of those things. If you know,
$300 Beatle lunchbox.
Right.
What a rip off that is.
Yeah, no shit.
$300. The Beatles just announced that. They've got like the old lunchboxes that cost you, the expensive ones with thermoses actually cost about $5.99 back in those days, and they're going to cost you $300.
No, it's
plus. Not. That's what it's on. It's on the online, Nick.
I realize they're selling it for that, but it's not going to cost me that.
No, okay,
right.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah,
okay, so the rushed recording sessions were in part a result of Led Zeppelin having booked the studio immediately prior to the Rolling Stones booking it to do their album Black and Blue. So so that was a problem, and it was released the same spring of '76 that Presence was released, the Stones album. But Page negotiated with the Stones to borrow 2 days from their recording session time, during which he completed all the guitar overdubs.
Thanks, Eric.
In one lengthy session. Page and Harwood then worked on the mixes virtually non-stop until they fell asleep, and whoever woke up first went back to the desk to carry on. Page later stated he worked around 18 to 20 hours every day during the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just talk about dedication.
Well, I think he was picking up the vibe from other band members. Remember, this is just after John Paul Jones wanted to quit the band during the recording of the previous album, Physical Graffiti.
I know.
He was back, but I would imagine Page was worried about where his headspace was.
Right.
Bonham was getting pretty much out of control, kind of a party animal at this point. As a matter of fact, a couple of the songs on this album attribute to that lifestyle. And of course, he was feeling the withdrawal. Plant would later say that everything, as a matter of fact, the very first cut, Achilles' Last Stand, I always envisioned it as somebody living in New York City for whatever reason. I'm West Coast. But that's what, and flying down to, say, Florida. Because there's a lot of flying down south to get a new breath of life. It was actually the first song. Remember, what was the name of that band that did The Way? Mom and Dad left the kids and all of that. It was kind of like that kind of song. But he mentions Albion, which is Greek for Britain, or more specifically, even Scotland. Now, Scotland is the northmost, and where is south in his head? But people cut him down as a lyricist, and he uses the word Albion that flies over most Americans' heads. I had to actually look it up when I was listening to the album today, because I always saw that and I go, it's some mythological reference, I'm sure.
Let me go ahead. Let me ask you guys something. I've got a comment up right now from Dr. Rick. He read somewhere that the object didn't exist when the album cover was created. It was artwork for the cover. Does anybody have any information on that? I do know that this cover was created for another band's album.
That's what I read. They actually had it made for the concept. They had pre-drawings, and then it was made. Then they set up the models and everything else like that. As I recall, it's been about 2 years since I did a video on exactly how they did that, but that's what I do seem
it's actually
to
just it's kind of a trippy version, like it's an obelisk is what it actually is.
Right. And,
so
it's
it's a reinterpretation of it.
Well, to me, it's totally 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I got to give a shout out to a couple of people that have joined us. Chilled Pint has joined us, and my buddy Vinyl Gorilla Records. Hey guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys showing up.
P. Diddy will tell you what the object is.
That's cool, Chilled Pint. I'd love to visit that. I would love to just walk around inside that mobile studio.
Oh, so would I. That would be amazing.
Completely.
I pay pretty good money.
Yes, you did.
Vinyl Gorilla says Presence is his favorite album. I think that's totally cool.
Certainly,
right. Well, this is
it's very high on my list. It's in the top 5. I think that in my video, I named it their 5th best album.
Well, I want to,
which is much higher than most critics and commenters and all of that would rank it.
Hey, George Music for All 4 Seasons has also joined us. I just want you guys to know, because Vinyl Gorilla brought it up. This is the 7th studio album and the 7th Sunday in a row we've done a Led Zeppelin album. We're working our way through all the Led Zeppelin albums.
Oh, this has been a while.
Yeah, we've been having a great time. So George, Music for All 4 Seasons, thanks so much for showing up and watching the show and participating.
My whole channel was once it went. The very first band I did was the Beatles, but once I knew I was a rock channel, right? Because at first I was just a tech channel, so I had to. It was around February 15th of 2022 that I knew. All right, no more making tech videos. I'm on to rock and roll now. Right as I made that decision, the second band I ever did videos on was Led Zeppelin, and that's probably where I got my initial growth, because I covered Led Zeppelin, and Wayne Train Bro, who covers Zeppelin a whole lot, recommended me, and I got a ton of subscribers. So
that's awesome.
I feel like A, I'm here with friends. B, we're talking about one of the 2 bands that put me on the map, wherever I'm at on that map. All right. To get me even known on YouTube, and we're talking classic rock, man. You got my attention all the time for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You know? Hey, Caitlin, it's all good. We appreciate you being here. Everybody's busy, but thanks for showing up and saying hi and joining us. We appreciate it.
It's Caitlin in and out tour.
Yeah, Caitlin's Magical Corner. Everybody check out her channel. Caitlin's
I know
Magical
I missed
Corner.
her stream yesterday. I had it set on to remind me, but I was editing shorts, Caitlin. I'm sorry I missed you. I usually get hers,
Yeah, as well as our good friend Piccolina the Cat and George Music for All 4 Seasons. They all have great channels. Have fun in all of them. Okay, tap that like button. Thank you, Novice Nick. Please, everyone, hit the like, thumbs up button. You don't have any idea how important it is unless you're doing what we're doing here. It gets the show distributed out there. People are searching for content, and you have enough likes. YouTube proposes that your show to them, presents it to them as a show to watch, and then you just then the show really can take off. I had that happen to me recently.
I agree with Eric regarding Achilles' Last Stand, Nobody's Fault But Mine, and Tea for No One. They would be contenders for Zeppelin's top 20 songs, top 15 actually, and one of them in the top 10, maybe 2 of them in the top 10. So I agree with that one.
Yeah. Then you could add For Your Life to that list as well. Pretty much equal on par with those 3.
I agree, Chris, but I'm a fan of this album, so you're not going to get too much disagreement.
Can I pop a bubble?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Side 1 outside Achilles' Heels, great. I don't know what it was the other day. It was all right. Second side was better. But when I got to the compilation disc, third disc again,
Okay.
wow, just yeah. It made the album go from it's a good effort to absolutely Led Zeppelin.
Now, which compilation is this? Is this on vinyl, Nick?
This is Presence. Yes, it's what Jimmy Page put out in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 3-disc.
Based on what you just said, that'll be the next one I'll look for.
Yeah,
I've got Led Zeppelin 2 like that.
To me, it flowed. It just flowed better. They just had it down better at that point.
Right.
Yeah, they were reference mixes.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that one actually better than the one they produced to start with.
Yeah.
But
it has 2 less songs on it, but you don't miss them.
No, you don't.
Hey, thank you, Jersey
sometimes
Devil.
Less is more.
That's nice of you to say. Bring up Jersey Devil and then go back to get Caitlin and Eric. But what a nice thing to say.
Yeah, I'm always behind. Okay. All right. If you guys enjoy classic rock being discussed by people who know all about it, this show is a must. Thank you so much, Jersey Devil. That's fantastic for you to say that.
Sure.
Royce.
Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
I'll tell you one thing. We, the panel up here, we do our homework too. I mean, a lot of the knowledge we just have. But when I come up here, I start with Wikipedia and get out of that thing as soon as I possibly can. But I'll take phrases from it and do further searches to get more information. And 2 things benefit by that. We, as a panel, bring more to you, things that you may not have casually heard. And you guys surprise us in the peanut gallery. 2 or 3 times a night, we hear something from you that none of us heard about. So
absolutely. Well, nobody lived all these stories in real time. You have to do your research. And there's a lot of stuff that's duplicated out there with a little different twist and stuff like that. You just gotta, you take the knowledge you already have, because we're all Led Zeppelin fans, first of all. Right. And that brings knowledge and history and stuff like that. But still, there's just a lot of research to do.
Yeah.
And
Michael, I just want to say I appreciate Michael going to Wikipedia, because I didn't want to soil my mind. So I don't go there. So I appreciate
you don't have to, Nick.
doing that part of it. I work on different parts, which is great for the collaboration. But that kind of stuff sometimes just soils your mind. Sometimes it helps. Wikipedia. But
Wikipedia. You pick out some key stuff and stuff like that.
I catch errors all the time. The time.
That's right. Yeah.
And the errors always seem to favor on Wikipedia's hidden agenda. So take that with what you want. But,
okay. So let's go a little
like
further.
80% of the stuff correct.
Let's go to this guy.
Let's go a little further on the recording and stuff for Patience. Okay. Particularly challenging for Plant, of course. The studio was in a basement. Plant's in a wheelchair, right, of an old hotel, and the singer felt claustrophobic. I don't blame him. He also experienced physical difficulties as a result of the car accident, and missed his family terribly. And he said later he was upset, and I mentioned this earlier, about Page and Peter Grant booking the Presence sessions, and began to reevaluate his priorities in life. He's hurt, his wife is hurt, he's stuck down in the basement in a wheelchair. I mean, talk about a lot of frustration going on here with this whole crew,
Hey, Royce, I heard it was that Bonham is the one who finally talked him into it, because Page and Grant.
Bonham were, they're like best friends,
Yeah, they were pushing him, and then the final thing that got him there was Bonham saying, "Okay, come on, let's just do this."
Right. Hey, we've been joined by Groovy Lisa. Everybody go check out Groovy Lisa's channel. I do it every chance I get. And Ruby Lee says, good people.
She just made a comment, and it disappeared on mine. Right after that, she had a comment up there.
Huh.
She was talking about Wikipedia, saying that it's a good source for discography, and that's what I use it for quite often.
Yeah, for sure.
For Lisa, so good point on that.
Okay, so because the album was completed one day before the American holiday, Thanksgiving, Plant suggested to the record company the album should be called Thanksgiving. Okay, the idea was quickly dropped in favor of the title that was thought that represented the powerful force and the presence that the band members felt surrounded, when they were in the group. The group felt surrounded by it. They felt a strong presence when they were all together, okay? So both Page and Plant had planned this album's recording session as we talked about this just briefly, as a return to hard rock, much like their debut album, okay? Except at a new level of complexity, it marked the change in the Led Zeppelin sound towards a more straightforward guitar-based jams. And I like that, and I definitely found that in this album as well.
Thanks, Gringo.
Perfect explanation. Sure. Got Gringo Pines here. Hey, Gringo. Evening, Royce. Just got home, brother. You rock, and so does your panel. Peace. Thank you, Gringo. I really appreciate you. Appreciate you saying that, brother.
Oh, stop.
Appreciate you being here. Okay, so we're at. Really, go ahead. Hey, novice, you're going to have to teach me how to do all that someday. I like that. No, it'd be too much to have more than one person doing it. Okay, so whereas their previous albums, up to and including, the previous year's Physical Graffiti, contain electric, hard rock anthems balanced with acoustic ballads. They tried to, after 3 they did that, and before 3 people just didn't remember until 3 came out. Okay, acoustic ballads and intricate arrangements. Presence was seen to include more simplified riffs, and is Led Zeppelin's only studio album that features no keyboards, and with the exception of a rhythm track on Candy Store Rock, no acoustic guitar. The changed stylistic emphasis on the album was a direct result of the troubled circumstances experienced by the band around the time of its recording. Page later said the music came from spontaneity. Plant later described it as a cry for survival. And speculated the group would not make another album like it.
Which is interesting, because the next album would be him and John Paul Jones kind of taking the reins, and you would think he really meant what you just said, Royce. But before Bonzo died, Bonzo and Jimmy were trying to get better, because they were very sick during that last album, and they were bound and determined that the next album that would have been there instead of Coda was yet another return to heavy rock. He was bound and determined to make that happen yet again.
Okay. Yeah.
So Jimmy, his whole idea of shade versus light, this was his vision, and it was his way not to be pigeonholed. And as soon as he felt pigeonholed by providing just that for about 3 or 4 albums in a row, he turned on his heels, and you could see clear hints that this was going to happen with the new stuff off of Physical Graffiti.
Right.
He wanted to get back to rock and rolling,
You guys, you're right. But I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I mean, I just read Jersey Devil's comment. Could you imagine sitting here 50 years after its release talking about the album Thanksgiving?
Good point, Jersey. Good point.
From the rock legends from England. That's an odd thought. I love that, man. That's great. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna do. I mean, you guys.
I was going to say, just the word Thanksgiving at least implies contemplative. You know.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And this album, there's nothing on it that you have to. You know, it's just in your face. It had to be something in your face to represent the music. That would have been a mistake.
And just a quick comment on what you were saying about In Through the Outdoor.
Okay.
Story I heard is obviously Page and Bonham, or they were both battling their own demons, alcohol and
alcohol, drugs, you know.
And since Plant and Jones, they were the first ones to the studio, so they the first ones to start writing the songs. By the time Page and Bonham got in there, it was okay. Here's your part. Here's part. This is what we already have. You know, whoever gets there first is the one creating the song, basically.
Right. Yeah, they would get in, and then Page would receive songwriting credit for helping flushing it out. But there was a couple of cuts on In Through the Outdoor that was just credited to only Jones and Plant. So, yeah. And you know what? When you listen to that album, I have to be in a non-Led Zeppelin mood, and yet still want to listen to Led Zeppelin to really want to play. That's probably, I play Coda more often than I play In Through the Outdoor. To me, them trying to approach that techno sound of the 80s, which I was a bit enamored with the good people that came out of that, like the Police, the Clash, and some of the better pops. I even like the Fab Five, Rio, Hungry Like a Wolf, Duran Duran. All right. But them kind of going, to me, In Through the Outdoor is kind of like them trying to do Led Zeppelin's version of Duran Duran. And it's hard for me to get my brain.
That's a tough one to wrap your head around.
Well, it's such a different Zeppelin album. It really is. It sits aside from the rest of Zeppelin. And I know there's fans out there that go, it's the best. That's the one I got when I was a kid. That's my favorite, you know, and it sold really well. But to me, it's like the Twilight Zone version of Led Zeppelin, you know, submitting for your approval. Here's the episode where Led Zeppelin was taken over by Plant and John Paul Jones, you know.
Yeah. I just want to mention here, guys, that I was on into the panel. I was on a show, 2 days ago. I spent 2 hours on the panel. It was Rachel's Ghost. Right. Rachel's first hour is always, her own kind of her own monologue, whatever you want to call it. And then she gets into inviting guests up, and I was invited up. And she had popped on my show. Michael, you and I were here. Nick, you were here. Yeah, Nick was here too. Chris was here too.
I think she did you a good send up, Royce. When I actually that particular episode, I had to do a lot of fast forward because me and my nervous system on certain things. But man, when she got you up, Rachel's going to do what she's going to do always, and it's always successful for her. She knows what she's doing. But man, the first time I ever even knew Rachel, I didn't know anything about her show. I was up here in one of my early appearances on your show, and her and Rob the Waxed were, it was the four of us on a panel. And I was absolutely enamored with her when she sits down to music, and she always behaves herself so well when she's on other channels. It's like, I really respect her knowledge and what she can grab out of her brain at a moment's notice, especially on lyrics. She's just got thousands of them in her head. She's got a good sense of history. She makes a bit of common sense, and her taste in music is not far off from ours. I think Zeppelin's
no, it's not. It's not far. It's pretty much all this. Yeah,
I think
pretty much the
Zeppelin's
same
her
taste.
third favorite band. I think Yes, or the Beatles, and then Yes, and then Zeppelin. If Zeppelin's not 3, it's pretty high on our list.
Just real quick, I just want to say, Dr. Rick, that's great news. I'm glad to hear it. Okay, all right, go ahead, Nick.
No, I was saying, and one of her top ones is Queen as well. But yeah,
I didn't see that, Rick. Yes, amen.
She shows the respect to her host, to the highest.
Yeah,
and she
does totally. Yeah,
she does not go to her strong points as far as her topics, her show. She lets the host drive the show, and she helps.
Yeah. Oh no, she's probably been on my show at least 4 times, maybe 5, and she even went to my younger brother's show with me a couple of times. We both, went at the same time.
I think she's one of the most respectful guests that I've seen. I saw her the other day on the Ragged Tomato, and that was the only part of the shows when she's on that I found even interesting, because I find her mind very interesting. I agree with a lot of what she comes up with,
Yeah, and she just gets out there and goes for it too. I mean, that's when I get kind of mesmerized on the Raging Tomato show as well, is when she's there. Other than that, other than that, the whole Tomato? Sarah the Raging Tomato. Anyway,
the Ragged Tomato.
No, I didn't know. No, it's Raging. Okay, no. But other than that,
not a fan.
Not a fan. Other than that, yeah.
No.
Okay, so folks, let's go on here a little bit. What we're going to do now, and feel free to bring up anything related to this. We're going to go through the track list, track by track, okay? Starting with, of course, Achilles' Last Stand, the 10-minute opening song. Plant alluded to Zeppelin's in the first sentence. He alluded to Zeppelin's tax status. They were tax exiles in the song's opening line. Okay, the song was first recorded on the 12th of November. When the basic backing track was laid down, Jones played an alembic 8-string bass on the track, giving it a distinctive tone. Okay, Plant wrote the lyrics based on traveling across Africa in mid-'75 with Jimmy Page.
By the way, those alembic basses were known for very high-end tones, much like the bass that McCartney and Chris Squire used. It was McCartney's second bass that he used with the Beatles, and what he started off
was it like a Rickenbacker bass? Yeah,
Rickenbacker. That's what I thought. Okay. And both basses are known for their very they're very low end punchy, but also getting those nice high ends that a lot of basses don't. And the Olympics were famous for that.
Right on, man. But here's almost the punchline for this whole song. This and the next thing I'm going to say. Page added 6 guitars in the marathon overdubbing session at the end of the recording period. 6 overdubs with guitars, okay?
Yeah.
But John Bonham, whose eruptive drum work serves as the lead instrument for roughly the first half of Achilles' Last Stand.
Oh God!
It's a crowning. His drumming was a crowning musical achievement that opened the door for the kind of shifting time signatures that would dominate the next wave of British heavy metal.
Matter of fact, this track would be a track that I would argue with those who say Keith Moon was a better drummer than Bonham. I would say, show me a better track than this one.
There you go. I mean, that's a 10-minute song. The first half dominated.
I mean, he's my favorite drummer of all time.
Yeah.
But Bonham, man, what a monster.
Right. Okay, so
and also on this track, lots of which kind of gives the flavor to the album. Later, we'll talk about trying to find some solace and spiritual guidance. We'll be talking about songs that talk about the crazy days of Led Zeppelin, excesses of drugs and sexual proclivities and questionable hangouts, right? Well, this opening track asks the question, listen to the lyrics, is it time to move on? Right? And then the rest of the album explores what themes are they trying to move on from.
Right.
So there's almost a, Page was right. There was a presence there. And like great albums, an almost, you wouldn't call this a concept album, but it's not far off. As all true great pieces of art usually unveil, there's so many different facets to enjoy.
That's right.
I think it's a masterpiece.
Well, when you listen to that, it just makes you miss John Bonham. Eric was just talking about it, Eric Schultz, so much. I mean, you don't realize just how young those guys were. When John Bonham passed.
Well, I never saw Zeppelin live. I paid to see them live. I paid every damn last dollar that I had for tickets for my first wife and I to go see them. And then Robert Plant's son died, and they canceled the tour. And then Bonham died. I just missed my window of opportunity. But I paid to see them. That's the biggest claim to fame I have, Unfortunate, man. I've never been more disappointed in missing a concert. That is my greatest concert regret.
Oh my God. I don't even want to talk about it. I'll be ill for the rest of the night. But I do want to say hi to Sid. We've already passed him in the chat, but I also want to say hi to Brandon Overheim, my buddy from down under.
Yeah.
Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Good day, everyone.
Brandon.
Apologies for being late.
Always hitting me up on my channel. Of course, Brandon is one of my tribal elders as well. And peace and love from top over.
Yeah,
brother.
Brandon, you late? No worries, mate. No worries. Okay, so let's see.
We are international, Royce. Think about this. Even the panel has a member from Canada.
That's right.
People in the peanut gallery, not only from another hemisphere, but from another southern hemisphere. I mean, we are planet-wide, baby.
Yes, we are, man. We're not just international. You're right.
Why are we limiting it to one planet? We don't know.
Okay, we're universal, not global. What's the next step?
Well, according to the theory of quantum theory, anyway, I would say that there are
intergalactic.
Right, intergalactic. There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so okay, no, I can't. Okay, so the next song, the next track 2 on side 1. For Your Life. Bonham was still front and center. Bonham picked up basically where he left off, just a little different beat, different song, unleashing monstrous but surprisingly limber polyrhythmic on the heavy studio improv, okay? With little unused material in his hand. They're not dragging songs that they didn't use with them. The narrative also dealt in the here and now. In fact, For Your Life was mostly arranged at Musicland, though it remained a furious attack on the now empty excess of the Los Angeles era setting where Plant and Page composed the bulk of the presence. I kind of like that, the now empty excess of Los Angeles.
Well, okay. I mean, Plant even said that it depressed him to no end. Now think about this. His family's in an accident. This guy was so plagued during his time with Led Zeppelin. And then, I mean, doctors telling him he might not even walk again. He's doubting his own future. And due to the taxes that are mentioned in the previous track, they are forced almost to, and it was the LA scene was a favorite of Zepp. They loved it there, and the excess cocaine is basically what this song is about. and the excess use of cocaine. And of course, Stevie Nicks and her crowd and all of them suffered horribly at this time period. I mean, it was nose candy city. God,
no.
It was filtered. Even I tried it. You know, I mean, I never got into it. It never did anything for me. But and thank God, you know.
Yeah. Well, there's only one more thing I wanted to say about For Your Life, and that's for the recording. Page used a Fender Stratocaster provided by former member of the Byrds guitarist Gene Parsons. I thought that was interesting. I'm so used to seeing him with, you know, the Les Paul or sometimes a Telecaster, but I thought that was kind of interesting. So anybody have anything else they want to add to For Your Life?
Well, basically, you guys pretty well covered it. Like you said, For Your Life, they had to do the album because, you know, that's what they were making their lives for. It was, you know,
like, and on top of that,
were they not obligated for a studio album at that point as well? Is that why they had to get it done in that short a time period?
They had, you know, contracts that says ever so often, and all the bands had that. But, you know, we've talked about the negatives, and we'll still be talking about a lot of Robert Plant's problems with this album. But it should be noted that on this track, Jimmy Page was actually quite excited about it. He said it fell together, you know. So Page he hadn't quite crashed yet. I think he was still in the honeymoon phase of his guitar playing is as brilliant as it ever was and everything. But he's still in the honeymoon phase of his time partying and going on. Yeah. And his creativity, his creative spark is right there where some of the band members, they needed him doing that. And again, we're talking about a masterpiece here, and it should be given. We need to give credit to Jimmy Page for driving it. And on top of that, the antithesis of what Robert says about this song, Jimmy loved it and thought it was one of their better tracks they ever did.
Yeah.
One of the criticisms of this album is the fact that there are a lot of people seem to think that Jimmy Page wasn't up to par because he didn't do nearly as many solos as he had on all of his previous albums. But I still think that's part of the attraction of it because it's just bare bones. Let's just get out there.
Well, Royce brought it up earlier, Chris, and I agreed with him. The 6 tracks of guitars. I think Page's he became the orchestra.
Yeah, pretty much.
No keyboards. There's no keyboards. So it's his guitar that orchestrates the album. And so he had, you know, Page, that's another thing. Besides his darker side, which the guy's a wacko on some things, but he's a pretty humble guy. Even in his interviews, you know, he'll speak quite clearly about, I knew what I was doing, blah, blah, blah. So he's not a wallflower, but he comes off pretty humble, and he knew, I think, that there wasn't a lot of room for the solos, that he wanted to give the sparkle to the album by laying back and just layering. And when he didn't do that, let silence, you know, that from Eddie and the Cruisers, Cicera. Yeah, it was a Caesarean, you know, that pause that you need before moving into something else, you know. Yeah. And that we still see. Matter of fact, this album is Hendrix. See, I have so much respect for Hendrix because I used his name instead of Jimmy's. But Page at his greatest, as far as getting this album done and being responsible almost for 80% of its totality of sound, you know.
Yeah.
So,
you know, a little bit ago, Eric Schultz had a great comment. We've down past it now, but there was somebody on a talk show that was backstage a lot, you know, and they all thought with the band. They all thought Jimmy Page was going to be the first to die. I mean, that's how much partying was going on.
I thought it'd be Plant. I thought something's out to get him.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, the things that kept.
He almost died in a car accident with Richard Cole, the asshole tour manager, driving him from what was it, Portland, Oregon, so they could get down and hit the what was the club they played down in L.A. The big famous club, the hellhole little club that's
Whiskey a Go-Go?
Whiskey a Go-Go.
Because they needed that time to get ready for the San Francisco show, Fillmore West, that broke this band. And so in order for Plant to get to that point, he, it was almost a Buddy Holly tragedy. Richard Cole is blasted out of his mind driving in snow.
Right.
And they almost die, and then his son, then the accident with his wife, his lyrics clearly saying, along with interviews from him and Jones saying they miss their families.
Right.
If anybody had a target on his back, I thought Bonzo was like Keith Richards, he was impervious to anything short of a nuclear conflict.
Well, I did a show, Michael, on Tony Iommi, I'm sorry, right. From Black Sabbath.
Right.
And Bonzo was his best friend and was his best man at his wedding.
Yeah.
And they went to the last bar right before closing time. And I got to say hi real quick to Fran Roscoe and Sid again. Okay. Good to see you here, Fran. Thank you. You too, Sid. Okay. So what happened was, Iommi was getting married. Bonzo was his best man. The two of them went out, just the two of them, to party, the stag night. And they got to the last bar, get ready to close. And Bonzo goes, okay, 12 bottles of champagne right up here on the counter. And there was hardly anybody left in there. And Tony says, you're crazy. I can't drink all that. I'll never make it to my own wedding tomorrow. Bonzo drank all 12 bottles of champagne. And so, Iommi had to help him home, of course. And they were outside the gate yelling, let us in. And his wife was yelling back, no, you're drunk. I'm not opening the gate. I'm not opening the gate. And this went back and forth. And Iommi says, come on, I'm getting married in the morning. I got to go home and get some sleep. She finally opened the gate. Iommi takes him in, leans him up against the heater and says, are you going to be all right? And Bonzo goes. And Iommi said it was crazy. Like 7 o'clock the next morning, he showed up with his tux, his flower. I mean, he looked like he'd never had a beer the night before. So he got to where he could really put it away.
Yeah, and
which is a sign of truth.
His legend was mentioned in all the articles in Circus and Rolling Stone.
Yeah,
and all of that. And you saw him getting bigger and bigger and furrier and furrier, and you just thought,
right.
Okay, he's Grizzly Adams of rock and roll.
He's Grizzly
He's
Adams.
So robust.
No, that's right. I agree.
If you look at just before he died, and then go back to the early photographs of Led Zeppelin, John Bonham was the best looking in the band. He was classically handsome,
Yeah.
And even at that point, Plant was just growing out his hair, so it came to about here. Only it went out almost like a pharaoh's hat.
Yeah, right.
And he had that silly cleft in his chin and too much boyish looks. He looked goofy until he let the mane go and started leaning out because he still had some boy chub in those first photographs. But look at Bonzo, man. The guy, he even had that cool Tony Stark mustache,
I'd like to get back to Jimmy lagging kind of in the background on this album, where he had the first albums to be the star, show off his wares, be able to do pretty much what he wanted to.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think on this one, he kind of wanted to, okay, guys, now You bring it. Let's see what you got. Can you carry an album? Let's do it. I'm gonna sit back and see what y'all have. I think there was some of that involved.
Yeah, there probably was. Exactly. No.
No, I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well,
he's always been a driving force in whatever he was involved with. Name a band he wasn't a driving force in. His own life showed that he was a driving force. So to always be the guy, out front, of course they enjoy being, the big star and all that. But sometimes it's like, I want to sit back and watch a little bit. I'll add in the stuff to flavor it just right. But I want to enjoy some of this.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that kind of proves kind of backs up one of the reasons why Page doesn't have nearly as many solos on the album is what the point you just made, Nick. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's where I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the final track on side 1, Royal Orleans. Okay, credited to the only song that's credited to all 4 members. It was mostly Plant and Page on this one. Okay, it was written about.
That's because they all wanted to be able to argue. No, the song's about you. No, the song's about you. No, the song's about you. No.
Well, it was written about an incident involving Jones at a Royal Orleans hotel in New Orleans. Okay. It includes a reference to soul singer Barry White. The song.
Didn't this guy ever watch Crocodile Dundee? Oh, wait a minute. That came out after.
It was the only track on the album credited to the entire band. Lyrically, Plant returns to raucous times, okay, out on the concert trail with a title that's a reference to a signature French Quarter Inn and a narrative that recounts a particular crazy road story. We rolled 1 or 2 joints. This is John Paul Jones talking. We rolled 1 or 2 joints. We fell asleep. We set fire to the hotel room. Jones told, Mojo magazine in 2007 with a laugh. And when I woke up, it was full of firemen. The room was.
Yeah, but I want to know who the song's about. How do you not find out until the morning?
Yeah.
Why? What is that all about? I mean,
I'm pretty sure that was all about what was ingested the night before.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about an activity here as well. So there must have been some sort of cohesiveness of mind, and yet you don't find. I think thou dost protest too much.
Hey, brother Dan Goucher. Brother Dan Goucher's just joined us. Hello, Dan.
Good to
see you, man. Good to see you. Thanks for showing up.
Hell, it's good to see y'all.
Okay, it's a question for Novice Nick. Novice Nick, I think you have a good point there about Page sitting back a bit to say, let's see what you guys have. Yeah. Let's you guys be the driving force for this one.
Thank you.
Kind of a thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. That's a great observation there. Okay, so Dr. Rick, Page had such a long history as a studio player. Yes, he did. Yeah, he got. He made a lot of money as a studio session musician. I can picture
Michael.
He
knew how to orchestrate from behind the scenes.
Oberheim says, I can picture Michael as a Crocodile Dundee character.
Well, here in the States, we have gators. So
gators,
let's just say I would have given the lady a pat down. That's all I can say about that.
God bless.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so
let's basically what we're talking about is this song. Okay, so we get this need to fly. The next song talks about, the drug craze that's ruining Nirvana for whatever, right?
Right.
And now we're finding out it's not just the drug craze, but because of the drug craze, a lot of crazy stuff happens. So there's a sinking feeling, this this need to get away, and now discovering why as we get into weightier matters on the album.
Right.
So
right.
Good placement. Good placement on the album.
That's right. Groovy Lisa finally heading home. Okay.
And isn't this the last cut on this side?
Yeah. Now we've moved on to nobody's
side closer. Great side closer.
Right. Nobody's Fault But Mine. Track 1 on side 2. Okay. Was inspired by Blind Willie Johnson saying, "It's nobody's fault but mine." First recorded in 1928, later covered by Nina Simone in 1969. The influence of the old blues songs are noticeable in both Page's guitar and the guitar work in the track, and also the melody and lyrics. Okay, guitar, melody, and lyrics, you could all pick up on the old blues song. Okay, so any comments there, guys?
Yeah, it's a song about redemption. Well placed for side 2. It's a song about somebody who, before you can be redeemed, you have to answer to something greater than yourself. And by doing that, you have to admit where you're wrong. And the very title, well, it's nobody's fault but mine, Lord. Nobody's fault but mine. From that point comes forgiveness, then redemption.
Okay. Sounds like you've worked this out a couple of times.
I love lyrics, Russ. Lyrics is like my life, man.
This is great. Oberheim says Crocodile Dundee is a national hero in Australia. I can see that.
Should be.
As he well should be. I agree 100%.
Love Paul Hogan.
Nick, we can't hear you for some reason.
You know what I think makes this makes this song from the very start. We got that beautiful guitar, then Bonzo just comes in and wipes it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's Bonzo, a rock and roll song.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Bonzo was amazing.
Yeah.
He was like extra amazing on this album.
He's the engine.
Yeah. He was at his peak on this album. Like him and absolutely. Jones. I think him and Jones, as far as just the 4-piece kick-ass album or group, him and Jones were at their peak for sure.
Yeah. See, I'm cheating a little bit.
Yeah, they were. They totally were.
I'm having some extra fun besides enjoying everyone's company and discussing this wonderful album. I have it on an iPad here, set with title with the lyrics. So I was just enjoying that. It's beautiful. That's why you couldn't hear me, because we don't want to get a strike. But that's why I'm a little wound up.
Yeah, that's great, Nick.
Yeah, it's really too bad we couldn't play portions and then
got it right here.
But that's the nature of the beast. But boy, I'd love to be able to do that.
Can you see it with the lyrics?
Yeah.
Oh, that's which one?
Yeah, this is the album with the lyrics, and it plays it.
Okay.
So,
right on.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Hey, so as we're going from album song to song, I'm enjoying little snippets.
Did you guys hear that they're going to extend what they allow for shorts to 3 minutes?
What?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, this month they're supposed to allow 3-minute shorts.
Oh, wow.
Well, if they do that, I'll take advantage of that as well.
Wow.
Right. Okay, so let's move on now to Candy Store
Rock. Second, Race. I was letting you guys one last thing about Nobody's Fault But Mine.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Like that. When I was a kid going through my dad's collection or my cousin's collections, that was one of the things that drove me to that album. Like Achilles' Last Stand, the first song, yes. But then the first song, which when you're listening to an album, sometimes it doesn't matter at which side is, side A can be the side B you just put on first, right?
Right.
But the opening, that
Oh
my God, that guitar,
something else.
I mean, I've heard Sabbath and stuff that was considered heavier, but that opening guitar riff, that sounded so much like the heaviest thing I'd ever heard at the time.
Yeah,
it totally screams, "I am rock and roll, and I'm here to have fun."
That's exactly right, guys. That's exactly right. Hey, Dan Goucher, thank you so much. When you want in-depth Zeppelin coverage, Who better than Royce and the gang? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Quite a compliment.
Thank you. Yes, indeed.
Okay, so now we'll move on to Candy Store Rock. Okay, I like this song. You know, it was inspired by 50s rock and roll. Led Zeppelin had been carrying around the seeds of this song since their Houses of the Holy dates. Plant's echo heavy, and you could really hear that too. His echo heavy rockabilly approach in the tribute to Raul, is a tribute to Raul Donner. Now, I'm not really familiar with Raul Donner. Anybody know who Raul Donner is?
Nope.
Well, he was an unabashed. He was kind of an unknown, but he was an unabashed Elvis Presley clone, and needed a moment of levity. They needed a moment of levity on such a serrated, brutally honest album. Okay, so this one was kind of for fun. In it, I'm all
foot
good
tapper.
with that.
It's a foot tapper. Yeah.
It's a foot tapper.
Tap. Hey, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm excitable.
Okay, so now we move on to Hots on for Nowhere. And I like that song a lot too. It was written about Plant's time in Malibu while Page played the Stratocaster on the tracks. One of the most hooky Led Zeppelin moments ever. Hooky, okay. Hots on for Nowhere also developed from an earlier moment ever. Okay, let me see. I'm getting confused. Hots on Forever also developed from an earlier scrap of an idea. Okay, but Page's riff appeared on the then released Walter's Walk. Okay, but otherwise, I guess they must have scrapped that one. But otherwise, the track was the product of time spent in Malibu. Okay.
Yeah, Walter's Walk. That's released on Coda.
Oh, they did release that on Coda. Okay.
Yeah. And this song was also another song of with Plant's frustration of being in Malibu specifically. The lyrics criticize the whole experience, so he's not a happy man on this. Great track though, love it.
No, he was in Malibu, but they were pretty much, for all extents and purposes, they were locked in the studio. So,
Yeah, and on top of that, as I recall, he had been contacted just incessantly by Plant to meet him here. Then meet me there. And then finally settling on Malibu. So he came in, first of all, not in a great mood physically and feeling rushed the whole time. And he openly has said in interviews, this song is a critique of that entire experience. He was not happy at all. He didn't want to be there,
Okay. Well, I got an interesting comment here from Exo Music. Anyway, and first of all, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
First page on a Strat with the Tremolo Bar album. Again, yeah. Thanks, Nick. Everybody, please hit that thumbs up. We call it the like button. It really helps the show get out there and get distributed to people searching for content. That would be fantastic. So thank you all so much on that. So anyway, Exo Music, that is a great comment.
There you go. Hit that thumbs up.
So what I want to do now, guys, is get to the last and one of my very favorite songs on this album, T for One.
Mm-hmm.
The closing number was a slow blues written by Plant about the problems he was, facing being separated from his family, and was an attempt to update their earlier Since I've Been Loving You from Led Zeppelin's 3, as the band rekindled the purpose and fire of blues without resorting to the genre's basic structure. This song really grabbed me. I thought it was just fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's a complete masterpiece, Yeah. Sorry about that.
Well, it's definitely a culmination of everything else on the album for sure. It's Robert Plant. He didn't want to be there to begin with. Oh my God, how long every day must have been trying to record in a wheelchair.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Like
down in a basement.
24 hours seems to slip
Yeah.
into days. You know, a minute seems like a lifetime.
Terrible.
Oh my God, can't we just be done with this? Yeah.
Yep.
And away from the ones he loves most.
Yes. Oh yeah, like let's not forget his wife was severely injured.
Yeah.
Right.
His kids were hurt.
Right. I mean, terrible to be away from everybody like that.
Yeah, it's
That-
hard.
that-
It's
that
also
is-
probably one of his
band with-
most
I mean, how could you even?
outside of the two songs he wrote about his kids, that being "All My Love" and "The Ocean."
Right.
This is probably his most personal song, and
Yeah.
or the crunch.
Well, that's a good point.
You know,
And
in his condition,
Yeah.
the only thing that would have been motivating me is to get done and get the hell out of there. You know?
Yeah. Or to why show up to start with.
Well, you
You know,
had a
that's-
crack in the band kind of at this point. You've got both Jones and Plant yearning from home or for home, and you've got Page and Bonzo still flying high. You know, and if there's any contention to the album, it might be that, or fans felt that way at the time.
Yeah.
Because every move was in every magazine.
Right.
Hell,
right.
they were being written up on every rag that faced you. You went into the grocery store, and there'd be a rag with Led Zeppelin on it. You know?
But did they really criticize them for taking a break before this album?
Oh no, they got I mean, if they farted in between a number on stage, there was a whole article about it. Back in the day,
you know that. I'm just talking about with all the crushing turmoil of that
I know,
he's going through in the wheelchair. You know, the whole bit.
Oh God,
what monsters would have really criticized him for taking a break?
I know.
You're kidding, eh?
Well, they seem to be under a lot of pressure. I don't know if their manager pushed them a little too hard or what. But hey, Michael, Joseph Blue. Whose comment is up, he went on your poll today, and he said this track is the what T for one is the one he voted for.
Yeah, at this point it's only 8% of the vote. As a matter of fact, I was just looking at that. I chose what most critics consider kind of the highlights of the album. Achilles' Last Stand, For Your Life, Nobody's Fault But Mine, and T for One.
Right.
And last place is For Your Life. T for One at 8%, For Your Life at 7%, 28% Nobody's Fault But Mine, and 57% Achilles' Last Stand. So
right.
well over half, and that's so far. I just started this poll. That's out of 440 votes. So we'll see once it gets to about 1,000. My polls usually get to about that. So
yeah.
But everybody, that's the one thing. This gets the most criticism from Led Zeppelin albums, often from fans. Yet Achilles' Last Stand is often Led Zeppelin fans, one of their favorite songs.
Yeah.
It's in their top 10 of Led Zeppelin songs. And that's interesting, and it even starts the album, you would think. But, time and circumstances.
That's exactly right.
Another thing about that song is it's definitely Led Zeppelin's best progressive rock song.
Oh, yeah.
Like it could fit, maybe I could possibly see it fitting on one of the earlier Yes albums or something like that.
It almost, I was going to say that earlier, Chris. I think that it's the closest they've been to being a prog rock band. There's some excellent examples on Houses of the Holy too, by the way. Yeah. But yes, there is a touch of Yes in this piece. Mm-hmm. It travels and has many different parts to it, and kind of obeys prog rock's rules, along the way, and yet still a complete Led Zeppelin rager, you know.
See, some of the bass lines in there kind of remind me of Roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
Just the repeating, just the
right.
You just kind of get a feeling for Roundabout.
Now, was this the track he played the Olympic on?
Not sure.
That
I
you were
don't
mentioning,
think
Royce?
so.
Because
No,
again,
that was. I think that was on side 1.
Well, we're talking about first track on side 1.
Yeah, Kelly's last.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it was
okay.
a second or third track.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I had to ask, because that would explain it. But you know, they have treble controls and things like that on amps to get more of a. And who knows? Maybe he played a pick. I'll have to look into that. You know, he often, most often, just played finger style. You know, and with a pick, you can get a lot more punch and even get. I'm a bass player, so you can get harmonics, octave harmonics off a note if you pick it right and everything. So maybe that's his. You've given me homework again, Chris.
Okay, Eric Schultz got a great comment up here. You guys probably have all seen it. Right behind him, Excel Music is telling us that For Your Life is the best groove ever. You know, his favorite from the album.
Oh, it's definitely one of their better ones for sure.
Hey, Royce, this would be a good time. Let's hear from the Peanut Gallery. Led Zeppelin had, we're going to consider Coda tonight, 9 studio albums. Okay?
Yeah.
Number 1, you know, many of you will pick 4. Okay, or perhaps Physical Graffiti. All right, what number from the top? In other words, if you think it's their worst album, just type in 9. Or if you think it's their second worst, type 8. And if it's better and better, give it a lower number to get to number 1. Let's get a groove as to what the Peanut Gallery thinks of this album.
Okay, that sounds like a fun idea.
Yeah.
You know,
just to help you start, my favorite.
Yeah.
I'll just go. I mean, it's impossible to list them per se, but my top 4 Zeppelin albums are Physical Graffiti, 2, 4, and Presence. Although sometimes
2, 4.
Presence beats 4 because sometimes 4 is awesome, but sometimes it just gets tiring.
It's one of those things you've heard so many times, but you give it one spot higher than me. I'd give it. I rank it number 5, but I certainly, I've been tempted to give it a number 4 several times. So
Sid picked number 5, House is the Holy.
Okay.
And before somebody jumps on me, I'm just saying
picked 3.
Zeppelin 4 is certainly in my top 3 or 4, and you know, depending. And I'm not saying that I'm cutting the album up at all. I'm just saying sometimes it just seems like it's the same thing over all the same songs all the time.
Dan Goucher 5.
Seems pressure.
Caitlin picked 2. Eric Schultz picked 3 or 4. Yeah, that's a man after my own heart.
Right.
A couple of different ones there. Well, if it's me, I'm really having a hard time right now dealing with this because I could put 1, 2, and 4 almost in a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
And I'll say this.
I'm with you, Royce.
Would be a 4.
Yeah, that would be the highest. But you know what? I've been listening to Houses of the Holy a little bit more lately. Yeah. And I tell you what, that gets better like all of them, every damn time I listen to it.
Yeah.
You know, and so that makes it. I have a whole bunch of ties here. I could tie Presence with Houses of the Holy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Houses of the Holy beats Presence.
Yeah. Okay.
Houses of the Holy is my second favorite, right underneath 4, and then Physical Graffiti. Okay, would be my top 3. What did I put it for? If maybe Presence was number 4 on my list. I'm just trying to think of it. Oh no, I think I put 1 ahead of that.
1.
You know, Michael. The other day you were saying something about having listened to Zeppelin 1 and 2 again, and you had Zeppelin one way the hell up there too. And that just speaks to how Zeppelin affects all of us, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like the thing I'd listened to most the last 2 days was Houses of the Holy and Presence.
Yeah.
And then you hear me saying I could put them as a tie, you know.
The thing I listened to most this past week was my wife.
Oh no, yeah, no, that's Nick, that's another level altogether.
Just thought I'd straighten out the married folk.
And the most important thing to remember in that regard, Nick, is that she knows where you sleep.
Yeah.
Yes. So therefore she's always right?
Yeah, always. Exo Music says it's hard to score, and that's exactly right.
It is, because we're talking about, you know, he says 9 albums.
Music. He goes on to say music isn't basketball. And he says he's been listening to Presence quite often lately, the last decade, more than lately, the last decade.
You can rearrange 2 on and whatever order you prefer, but the number 1 album of all time is the one playing at the moment.
Well, that's right.
That's exactly right. You know, Dan Goucher says Physical Graffiti, Houses, and 2 and 3, I think, have to go to the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
2 and 3.
Well, you know what? Like I said,
and that's people who love early Zeppelin often has a problem with Houses of the Holy, and yet here we see somebody who praises Holy and Led Zeppelin 2 and 3. So there you go.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Okay.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, and like Eric says, Eric Schultz, it all depends on how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
If it was the first album that I got familiar with when I was in high school, so there's something there. But there are special times, you know. Like I was in high school with 1, 2, and 3, you know, and so I listened to the 3 of those to death. And 1 and 2 will always rank high for me. But I don't know. For me, I don't think it's just because they were my first. I think it's because they're really great albums that stand the test of time.
And you know what, Royce? I'm a year younger than you, and probably several months as well. When I was into Led Zeppelin, I was in high school, and all the way through Houses of the Holy. See, because I was still in high school in 1973.
Right.
About ready to graduate.
Okay.
Well, actually, I didn't graduate. That's a long story. But anyway, that was my graduating year.
We all have long stories like that.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Nick, Angela has a question for you up on the screen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where does the wife rank? Numero uno.
There you go. Thanks, Angela.
Absolument.
I've been listening to my wife too, Eric. Yeah, we all have. You
don't have to pay attention, but you have to listen.
Yeah, I mean, what choice do you have?
You got a panel of married men up here.
Happy wife, happy life. Yeah.
The reason we're still married is because we know who's boss.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
God help us.
Very, very blessed.
Very blessed.
Yeah, right.
God help us.
Okay, so a couple of final interesting statistics. When they went on their concerts, they always had several albums from different, several tracks from various albums that they played consistently, but only 2 tracks from Presence were played in full on stage while the band was active. Okay. Keely's Last Stand and Nobody's Fault But Mine were added to the set list for the 1977 tour of the United States, and stayed on the track list through the band's final concerts in 1980. Okay. T for One was performed live on the Page and Plant tour in Japan in 1996. I think I might have that album. I'm gonna have to look the CD. I'll have to go through my CDs and look. Where the main group was backed by an orchestra. Okay, They were backed by an orchestra there. Okay, For Your Life was played in full on Led Zeppelin for the first and only time at Ahmet Ertegun, founder of Atlantic Records, tribute concert, which, is like Celebration Day. That's where that album came from. Okay, on the 10th of December, 2007. Okay, so anyway, I just thought I'd throw those little items in.
Amazing album.
Amazing. That's exactly right. Exactly. So I enjoyed this show tonight. I appreciate all you guys for being here. This was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Yeah.
I like Dan's comment. How Zeppelin influenced other bands. That'd be an interesting topic once we're done going through the albums.
Yeah.
That would be a very interesting topic. Yeah.
Sure.
I think that is a good topic.
And that potentially could lead into like post-Zeppelin stuff.
Okay. So anyway, that last little thing I said was kind of my closing comment. So we just kind of go around the horn here, Chris, and then down to Michael, then over to Nick, kind of in a circle. Any closing comments on tonight's show?
No. It's probably their most consistent album, that's for sure, because it's all just 4-piece band kicking ass.
Yeah. True. Michael?
Well, what I said at the beginning, it's their return to being a barbed wired, hard,
badass rock band. Yeah.
With quality material, a vastly underrated Led Zeppelin album. If you haven't heard it in years, my strong suggestion is, have a glass of wine or whatever floats your boat. Give yourself about 45 minutes, sit down, and listen to them through headphones. But if you must, speakers will crunch your brains out. But it's got I like the stereo mix. It's got a really nice stage area to it that's consistent, which is due to Jimmy Page being the producer. And I think Jimmy Page gets a lot of slack for not being a very good producer. I think he's one of the rock's best producers. Mm-hmm. And the reason, and I can prove my case.
Numbers don't lie.
Led Zeppelin's albums.
Right.
There you go. So that's
what I
have to say.
Thank you, Nick.
Well, in one of these rare occasions, Michael's done lost his mind. Yeah.
Don't worry, headphones. I know right where to find it.
Headphones. No, rock and roll, especially Led Zeppelin, needs to be felt from your toes to the hair on your head. When you got that bass pumping along, the guitar screaming at the high octave, why do you not want to feel that through your whole body and soul? I have no idea. Now, there are times for headphones. I have some serious pairs, and they're wonderful sounding. But help me, Jesus, no. Not Led Zeppelin. You got to feel it.
Now, you want to feel that thing hit you in the chest. Yeah, for sure.
I want to be sore at the end of the song. Now,
it's the engineer in me. I've done my entire life mixing and stuff, and you do it through headphones to
but my friend, it's been mixed. You're not having the work. You're there to enjoy.
I'm an old engineer. What am I gonna say?
But that's okay. To quote,
this is great. This is great.
To quote Michael. Whatever floats your boat, my dear friend.
Damn right.
So that's all right. Now, getting to the album, not my favorite. It ebbs and flows, but when it flows, boy, it really does. It shows you the shining of rock and roll the way it's supposed to be heard and felt. Yes, absolutely. If you get the opportunity, and you're into vinyl, get the discs that has the 2 discs, the compilation that comes with it. Well worth the price. I promise you. I bought it when it was first released. I had no idea what it was. All I knew was Led Zeppelin remixed Jimmy Page. Some people say Jimmy didn't do such a great job. It's fantabulous.
Jimmy did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah, I need to get some of those remixes and stuff. I mean, I don't mean just the remastered that we're all getting, but I mean some of those double album sets and stuff like that with all the extra stuff.
It is absolutely. Now this
Agreed,
week,
Eric. Agreed.
This week I popped it on and I wasn't in the mood or something. I don't know, and it just didn't do. Later on, the next day, I popped it on. I was like, there it is. There it is.
Completely different.
It was a bad day, and sometimes that just carries through, and nothing's going to bring you back except for a good rest in bed
I don't know
the
what
promise of a new day.
Right. I like what Joseph Blue says here. He says, because of the show tonight, I finally heard it for the first time today and loved it. You reach somebody, Royce.
That's great. That's great.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I got a couple of shout outs here. That one for sure. But Angela had it up on the screen for a while, but everybody was busy. Angela went to see the tribute to Hendrix. Hendrix show, and I just wanted to ask her, where was that at? Yeah, I saw that twice, not recently, one of the older versions, but
I can answer that, Royce. It was where it was.
Where it was. Okay, thank you.
Just wanted to be helpful, brother.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, you solved the mystery for me.
I'm here for you.
Okay, right on.
I'm just killing time till Angela can tell us.
Yeah, well, I lost my whole chat for a minute. I was moving my cursor around, and I banged on something and lost the chat. It was in Fort Worth, Texas, Will Rogers Auditorium. I bet that was fantastic. Oh my God, I need to see that again. I hope it gets close over here. Texas is not close, but Southern California is not bad. Okay, so let's see. Let me scroll through back up here on the chat a little bit.
Texas is so big. You can be in Texas, and Texas will not be close. Okay? I promise you.
Yeah. Cliffy Stone's Page used in his solos. Yeah. Thank you, Excel Music. Okay, we'll scroll down through the chat, and then we'll probably we'll sign off. And we want to thank everybody. I want to thank the panel, Chris, Michael, Nick. Really enjoy you guys being on and being a big part of the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, Royce.
Oh my God, yeah,
always a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. I mean, in the chat, man, I want to thank all you guys that show up to the chat. I mean, you guys are so well informed. You add so much to the show.
I think tonight's show was one of the most enjoyable chats we've had on the show for me.
Right.
Personally.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh no, it was really good, and I think doing the track list is kind of engaging everybody too.
Yes.
So
I think if you're going to do an album justice, you have to go and do a track.
Like I said earlier, the song remains the same as Next, and then In Through the Outdoor Coda. And then we'll take a look at some of the compilations we have and stuff like that. But anyway, if there's anybody that hasn't yet hit the thumbs up button, please do that for me now.
Absolutely.
Helps the show get distributed out there. And once again, thank everybody. And my closer. That's what's going on in Royce's world today. Thank you all so much, and good night.
Night all.
Good night. Thank you so much, Royce.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Great.